I've been doing a lot of thinking about Joe Biden's little address to the extreme MAGA Republicans. Just trying to understand what's going on here. And I've come to some conclusions. I almost want to use the word realizations, although I kind of realized it before. I realized these things before this speech, but at this point, it seems that these realizations are definitive. I mean, there was some doubt, but now I think there is no doubt. If we think about what is being done here, Joe Biden goes into, the discussion that this is sacred ground, right? Independence Hall, where the Constitution was written and debated. And he talks about those three words, we the people. So he is underscoring initially that this should be a very sacred place to any patriotic American. And they're painting the walls red with that light. Why red? Red can signify a number of things. For instance, it can signify anger. For instance, when someone says, I was so angry I saw red. I don't think that that's the message that's being conveyed. Or red can also mean communist, like Red China, Red Scare, right? Better dead than red. And all of those things have to do with communism, right? But the red is symbolic. You're taking a very sacred place, Independence Hall, and you're bathing it in red. And then on top of that, you've got the president being flanked by two Marines, as if to say, here I am in one of your most sacred places, and it's bathed in communism, and look what I can do. Look at the control that I have. I've taken this from you. And there's not anything you can do about it. This wasn't a political speech. I see in the news, it's not it's not right for a president of the United States to use his position to perform a political speech, right? But nowhere in his speech did he advocate for a specific candidate or anything like that. This was an address to the ultra MAGA Republicans, to the quote unquote extremist MAGA Republicans, and to everyone else. It was you're either with me or against me speech. Nowhere does he specifically define what an extremist MAGA Republican is. Or does he call out anyone by name as being an extremist MAGA Republican, other than by saying Donald Trump and those extremist MAGA Republicans? And so he does call out Donald Trump by name several times, but no one else. He does give some characteristics, some traits of extremist MAGA Republicans. For instance, at one point in the speech, he talks about how they want to take away a woman's right to choose, right? He's obviously referring to the Roe v. Wade issue where the Supreme Court struck it down recently. And I think he's implying that in red states, maybe abortion is being outlawed, made illegal. I mean, I'm not even really keeping too much track of that on a state-by-state thing. However, you know, he claims that the extremist MAGA Republicans don't want to adhere to the Constitution, right? Well, the Roe v. Wade issue was struck down by the Supreme Court. And even if in red states they are outlawing abortion, those states have that ability. They have that power. That power was returned to them by the Supreme Court. So it's completely constitutional. And his position is the unconstitutional one, that their right to, quote unquote, right to privacy and their right to abortion, etc., is does not exist, right? You don't have that right. So that characteristic of an quote-unquote extremist MAGA Republican is the pot calling the kettle black. All right. One of the other traits that he uses, he'll say, well, they even want to prevent, you know, people from being able to marry who they're in love with, or something along those lines. I think he's referring to gay marriage. And as far as I know, there's not a whole lot of push towards undermining that, even though constitutionally it probably could be done. The point I'm trying to make is that a rational person evaluating who is adhering to the Constitution and who isn't, if the litmus test for extremism is a lack of desire to adhere to the Constitution, then clearly it is the Biden administration that is the extremist, even by his own metric. One of the other things he talks about is extremist MAGA Republicans are working within states to take away people's right to vote, and he calls them election deniers. To put election deniers into power in these states, to take away, to remove their ability to vote. And MAGA Republicans deny, they're election deniers. He uses that frequently, repeatedly through his speech. That's evidently a characteristic of a MAGA Republican, an election denier. Well, you have to admit, I mean, the 2020 election has a lot of questions around it. And you would think that Joe Biden would want to alleviate any concerns that we have about that election. But they never do that. They fight against you're not allowed to ask questions about it. Even though Hillary Clinton called Donald Trump an illegitimate president from 2016 for years. So there's lots of information out there, that lots of documentary evidence that shows Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, etc., decrying the 2016 election as illegitimate. So, again, the pot calling the kettle black. They have a history of doing things and then making accusations that the other side is conspiratorial when the other side does those exact same things. Just extremely hypocritical. So anybody that's paying attention would have to wonder what's going on here. Did Joe Biden come up with this whole address on his own? Did he go, I want to address the extremist MAGA Republicans and the rest of the nation in Liberty Hall with the walls painted red with Marines flanking me on either side? Do we believe that Joe Biden came up with this on his own? Like, this speech is obviously intended to be threatening. It's to say, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I've taken your most precious, sacred location, or one of them, and I've basted it in communism, and I have control of your military. And if you want to fight me, you're going to have to go through them. The point is to demoralize you, to completely and totally demoralize you. So, if you don't believe that Joe Biden came up with this on his own, and let's face it, there's plenty of evidence to show that he's an elderly invalid, barely capable of taking care of himself. Definitely showing signs of, his age, to put it politely. Then you're forced to admit that he's colluding with others, at least one or more other controlling party, and Joe Biden is just the vessel through which this message is being delivered. So he's either cooperating willingly or unwillingly with one or more other individuals to deliver a message to the American people that, your government is being controlled at the highest level. And there's nothing you can do about it. Unless you want to fight. And if you want to fight, the implied notion is that he'll turn the guns of the U.S. military on you. So who is it? Who's controlling him? Did this guy, I mean, the narrative on its face is you've got an elderly guy who came up with this on his own. He's the president, quote unquote, president of the United States. This is all he's doing. The buck stops here, at the Oval Office. That's what we're expected to believe. That no one else is manipulating this guy. No one else is puppeteering this guy. He is the supreme commander-in-chief, and he came up with this on his own. Obviously, that's not the case. Obviously, that's not the case.